Since the first time you crawled, you were familiar with the fall. The plunge you take to the ground, the fall you take doesn't get old. Because each time over the course of your life you trip up, each time, though each fall provides insight. From conception you had this innate obsession with fear. Scared. We all have it in us too. Because when the fall is near, you sometimes don't want to face the ledge. When are you going to let go and fall? The fall means you face the darkness. The fall means your belly gets twisted and you think you will miss all the things that really don't matter because the ledge is up there and soon the ground will be a whole new adventure. The ledge is behind you. The fall brought out a new you. The fall taught you something new. Just like you learned to walk from a crawl, you will find the fire inside of you. The fall is cold. The fall is windy and wet. Hurricanes with constant rains force destruction and pain. But what happens after the hurricanes fade? People come together and build anew. The fall forced a shedding of old to bring a new foundation reflective of you. Let the leaves that fell remain on the ground where you saw them and keep walking and falling through seasons with knowledge. The leaves that fell nourished the ground around them. The notion of motion is seasons and deeper meaning. The spring forced a fire that made you fall into winter. The winter made you spring. Did you spring or did you leap? Didn't you crawl once? There are secrets that you keep. Unlock your past and commune with your kinfolk. The spirits are around you when the veil is thin. Within lies the light you need to shed question into the void to bring knowledge and compassion and understanding to breathe rebirth into the air around you. Feel the purpose of transition. Feel the turn of eras. The natural cycle, the speed, the fall, the dark, the rebirth. Fall is death. Fall is birth. Fall is then life. And life is earth. Seasons, change, growth, life. Fall is life.
Yo, yo, yo. Good morning, good morning, good morning. This is the Urban Conservative. Today is Thursday, October 27th, 2022. We are short days before the election, but you know that's not going to change shit anyways. Change is going to come from us, not from an election. Um, but again, today is October 27th, 2022. You are tuned in to the Urban Conservative. My name is Chaz Neal, an activist based in Minnesota, and we're being brought to you today by the Leon Black Independent Media. With me today, I have a co-host and executive producer, John Tel Tolan.
You already know what it is, y'all. It's Throwback Thursday. It's your guy, John Tell. As usual, executive producer, you already know. Thank you for having me, Chaz. Appreciate the love.
Always, always. The Urban Conservative is all about transparency, truth, and accountability. Um, we talk about news on the streets, gun violence, crime, politics, and how we solve our community's most hardest issues. How can we change our communities for the better? Let's get back to family, community, foundational roots. Let's make sure nobody gets left behind. Shut up and help. Um, Today is as I said, starting off the show. Today is October 27th. Um, October 27th, 2000, a young king was born named Dante Wright. Dante was stolen from us, from his family, from Aubrey, from Katie, from his family, his son, um, by police brutality. Um, I've gotten over it since April of last year. Uh, I've gotten to know Katie. I've gotten to know Aubrey, the father, the mother, um, the brothers, the sisters, and I have to say that this is one hell of a family. Uh, and I will always, 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 always stand up because he should still be here. And that is one thing that we are definitely going to talk about today is Black lives. We're going to talk about Black lives because, as the episode name, silence equals violence. And we are, as Black men and women and our children right now, we are under attack. Um, and how do we change that? You know, and one of the things of that why I'm discussing these stories today because we're going to talk about Cantu. I want you to keep this on Dante though, please. Um,
Mhm.
we're going to talk about Cantu. We're going to talk about Jaheim McMillan. Um, we are also going to talk about um, lots. I'm not going to say a lot, but those were the three that I really, really wanted to get into today. Uh, is all of the violence that is going on, and Jalen Walker.
Mhm.
Definitely can't forget about Akron, Ohio, because they are facing the same thing that Gulfport, Mississippi is.
Right.
Um, and not only just Mississippi is fighting gun violence, police brutality, but also in a water crisis. Um, if
Mhm.
people do not understand that, then we are the problem. Um,
Talk about it.
we've seen Flint, Michigan, still to this day have water issues. Um, and yet we're not even fixing it, but we'll send $60 billion to fucking Ukraine for a
Mhm.
war. And
Mhm.
this is the one thing that really uh, frustrates me when it comes to our people is that we would prefer to look the other way, um, because I understand that politics is nothing more than war without bloodshed, and that
Mm.
war is nothing but politics with bloodshed. And
Woo.
if people
Say
don't
that
know
again. Say that again.
that, we have to understand that politics is nothing more than war without bloodshed, and that war is nothing but politics with bloodshed.
Mm.
Um, and I need people to understand that because we are at war. And we're at war in multiple ways because we're at war with politics and we're at war on these streets. And as you can see with Dante, that was war on the streets. That was bloodshed. That shouldn't have to have happened because it could have been simple conversations. And not even only that, it's we have all these elected officials. We have all these black leaders that are being silent. And when the forces that be that are supposed to be out here, boots to the ground, voices loud, they're the most quietest church mouses. And that's why we have gotten to where we have gotten to. And this leads me into a quote, because we're all about greatness here. We're all about the leaders. And I'm not talking about the leaders that are alive. I'm talking about our leaders that are dead. So we wouldn't have to have Black Lives Matter if we wouldn't have to have 300 years of Black Lives Don't Matter.
Right.
Now, I want people to realize that, because what have we seen over history? What have we seen over history? Since 1776, Black people have not been shit in America. We have not been shit. And human beings have capitalized on the silence of animals, just as certain human beings have historically imposed service on certain other human beings by denying slaves the right to literacy, denying women the right to own property, and denying both the right to vote. So this is when we talk about voting, we talk about politics, we have to realize that shit's not for us. That's not for us, because I was reading this article this morning that talked about the Civil Rights Movement and the Civil Rights Act of 1964. So, and this brings up, because what has really changed, because we look at it, and according to an analysis of residential segregation, more than 80% of large metropolitan areas in the United States were mostly segregated in 2019 than they were in 1990.
Talk about it, and most people don't even realize that. Talk about it,
and
it's getting worse.
Right, and if we were to give up on the ideal of truly integrated society, that is still the problem of American democracy, which is wholly incomplete without equal voting rights for Black people. Malcolm X warned that America had not adequately enforced the Civil Rights Act of 1964, that civil rights leaders were being slain in the aftermath with inadequate follow-up from federal agencies. So politics ain't never did shit for us. Going to the ballot, because I notice in my heart that if Malcolm, Martin, Fred Hampton, Bobby Seals, if they wouldn't have got to some of the John Lewis, if they wouldn't have got to Jesse Jackson, Reverend Al Sharpton, because we got to understand, these people were back in the day. They were during this movement. And why are they still alive? Because they took that payment from the white man. Instead, because they knew what they were doing. I'm going to say it. And if Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson got any fucking thing wrong with what I got to say, prove me wrong, my nigga. That's all I got to say. Prove me wrong. Because when I look at their 990 forms, I see them getting paid off of Black trauma. I see them getting paid off of Black bloodshed, but them coming out here and supporting white supremacy. Ben Crump too. I'm going to talk about it because I got time today.
Talk about it.
I got time today. Well, I mean, we only got an hour, but you know what I'm saying? I got time today. But that's the problem, because we see it with George Floyd. And yes, not even with just George Floyd, because I can go back to when I was a kid. And if people don't remember Rodney King, because I remember Rodney.
Let's talk about the fact that every time they do something to us, they give us a consolation prize or some gift or some kind of thing to quell us. And I will say the latest one was Katanji, whatever you want to call it. What is that actually doing for us, though? People don't care what it's actually doing or not doing for us. They just see the symbolism of it.
Right. And they do see the symbolism of it, because if we look at it, what have changed that we really gotten from since Martin and Malcolm were assassinated, or even John F. Kennedy, or
Exactly what Jackie was saying. You just hit the nail on the pin. Once they see all these people, once they saw the root of the problem and tried to fix it, they were killed.
yeah, yeah, just like we're seeing now. But people don't.
Yep.
But see, that's the crazy thing of it is we've talked about this earlier this week too. When I talked about Larry Hoover, when I talked about Stanley Tukey Williams, any of the great, and I call them great. I don't give a fuck what nobody else says, because mainstream media, politicians, and elected officials have turned the narrative on Stanley Tukey Williams, Larry Hoover. They've turned the narratives because when Tukey started Crips, that was the same thing. There was no different from the Black Panthers, which is called something different. But they did more in the community of doing other things of enterprising. Same thing with Gangster Disciples. It was same thing with Vice Lords. These all things were not turned out to be gangs the way that white America has seen them. They were to be like Boy Scouts, to be like the YMCA, Big Brother, Big Sister. These were all programs that were not even programs, organizations, because that's what it is. I'm going to call it what it is, because I hate when people clarify that I was in a gang. I was not in a gang. First of all, I was blessed in. I don't know where these new dudes going around talking about they was jumped in to get into something. If you were jumped in, young man, they wanted to beat your ass. That's not how our laws, because every organization has laws. We have bylaws, we have codes. Motherfuckers don't know nothing about that.
The real gang is the government. The real gang are the politicians and the lobbyists and the cops. The cops are the number one biggest gang. Let's talk about that.
Right. Because Gangster Disciple don't even mean Gangster Disciple. The old way of it means growth and development.
When I see gangs in inner cities and with people, regular civilians, that's community.
Right.
That's socialism. That's people coming together and taking care of their own. Whether the crime is there or not, crime is a component of poverty. People don't want to talk about that or separate it. They don't want to see the root. They don't want to talk about how dare we speak about the people that feed us.
Right. And
not knowing that we can feed ourselves.
Thank you. Talk about it. Because let's get into Jaheim, because that goes exactly into it. Because what is different from Jaheim McMillan's case than Tamir Rice or Trayvon Martin?
Mm-hmm.
Why are we going to continue allowing our kids to be slaughtered and murdered every day on these streets? Every day, not only by police, and I'm talking about police right now, but also the community.
Mm-hmm.
We have to stand up, get up, stand up for our rights.
Talk about it. Yeah, Jackie, we're getting poorer by the day. We have nothing left to lose. We have nothing left to lose but our chains.
No, and that's the one thing of that I really want to speak on, because Jacqueline makes a very, very good point of that. We are getting more poor by the day, but who's getting richer?
Right.
Who's getting richer? It ain't us. And yet we'll want to get on. And I'm about to leave the Kanye conversation alone, because that is a deflect, distract situation. And I stand with Kanye. And until I need to stand up and speak up and protect this, that man's a billionaire, right? So I don't need to be using my little ass platform to stand up for him, but I will stand up for him when it comes to it. So I want people to know that, but I'm definitely going to leave the Kanye conversation alone, because it's a deflect and distract, and we have way bigger issues going on in our communities than a billionaire fighting corporate America. That I hope he wins. You know what I'm saying? He's going to need our support. But at the end of the day, the wealth gap has never been this bad in the history of America. And that's what we're facing. We got to be stakeholders. And coming Monday on Motivational Mondays, I have a special guest. I'm not going to say her name. Not even going to say what she does. But just know that we are coming prepared to teach knowledge, understanding, and wisdom, so that we can fight this fight evenly, so that we don't have to fight fire with fire, but we can have the necessities, the accessories, the
Mhm. The
the
tools we
skill set
need.
to fight back evenly, to fight that fire. But it's not even to fight that fire with fire, it's to put them fires out so that we can
Mhm.
advance.
That's right.
And I think that's what I really start to see what that quote means now is, oh Lord, you can't fight. Oh, private. Hey, so if y'all want to get on, don't, if you
Oh
get
wow.
on the link on YouTube, just to let y'all know that it's probably a scam.
Yeah.
I don't know who's doing that. Obviously, they want some attention. This is not that kind of attention we're gonna give them.
I blocked the user. Yeah,
But
we ain't having that. Go ahead.
right, and water gives us life. Knowledge is power. And thank you, Jacqueline, because you were making, man, you on your shit this morning.
For real.
And allow schools to build a pipeline to prison. Like, we have to notice the differences and just call it what it is, because a spade is a spade. 2 plus 2 equals 4. So stop calling it a conspiracy theory when the pieces to the puzzle are right there and y'all just can't put it together.
Talk about it.
Because what is the difference between school and prison? There really isn't much. The trades are the same. You get on the same bus, only one has bars. The other one, you got to go through metal detectors. You got to show your IDs.
Not really. At schools, you got to go through metal detectors and show your IDs.
Right. Prison, you do too when you go visit.
Yeah, it's the same. They set it up the same, so they desensitize you to it.
Right. You're desensitized to it. And that's what people don't understand. It's just like why we see.
Further, there's like, look at the pictures of what most schools in inner city look like compared to prisons. They look exactly the same. They're very mundane.
Right. Oh, definitely.
You look at schools in suburban areas, the architecture is very different.
Thank you. Because you make a very good point. If you look at the designs, and even now with the prisons that are there, some aren't even being built. They're just taking over former mental health hospitals or youth facilities and turning them into prisons. Mm-hmm. So that's why we don't have any more youth facilities. And you being from Pennsylvania, and I don't know if I've talked about this, but with you, but there was a program actually out in Pennsylvania, and you probably heard Glen Mills.
Yep.
I think that is closed now.
That's notorious around her. Yep.
Right. Now, Glen Mills had its pros and its cons. Right. Now, if that program would have been used correctly, because honestly, I don't see that program any different than, let's say, IMG right now. All these programs that are putting kids, like where you've seen Carmelo Anthony, all of these so-called wannabe sanctioned schools that take our kids.
You mean like Job Corps?
No, it's not so much like Job Corps, because Glen Mills was a sport.
I know that was more like, where they quote unquote dysfunctional, where bad kids went to and they were abused and used a lot.
Right. But see, the point of Glen Mills was you were supposed to go there to get an education and to further your whatever it was, because they had a sports program. So if you played baseball, basketball, football, whatever it was, you continued to progress whatever you were doing, because they didn't want to. Not a lot of people even know how many NFL stars, NBA stars actually came out of Glen Mills. The same thing when we had in Minnesota, there was programs that were exactly the same, because I was in them. You know what I'm saying? Like, they want to lock us up and throw us away without no opportunities.
Yep.
And Spike Moss, I don't know if people know who Spike Moss is, but he's a national activist that has been out here for years. He's based out of Minnesota. But he's been fighting prison and mass incarceration for years, and telling people why are we continually sending people to prison when there is no reform there anymore? It's not to better people. It's labor at this point. It's slavery, because if you don't work in prison, you sit in your cell all day. So who wants to go to work for 50 cents an hour while they're getting paid millions for those contracts?
Yep.
But yet the people doing them ain't getting paid shit.
Yep.
So you really got to understand. Yeah, it's all gone. And what has replaced it? I want people to understand that what has replaced those buildings, because I've seen they've shuttered libraries in Minneapolis and made them into nightclubs. Or I've seen recreation centers get completely tore down for trains, for light rails that are now just empty properties. Well, so what are we really doing? I need people to understand this, because we talk about it all the time. I hear people talk about it. What are we doing for our kids? I see, I can only talk about Minnesota. People, we have to. Damn, I shouldn't have read a comment. Damn it. But we sit here, and I forgot my train of thought where I was going with that. Oh, sorry.
No, you're good, brother.
But we sit here and we talk about these programs, and we want to put blame, but we got to put blame on ourselves, because we vote these people in.
True.
We vote these people in, regardless if I want to. I voted for Trump. I voted for Obama. Obama screwed us. When he did Obamacare, that screwed us. I know people will say that made it better. It didn't. It only made.
While you on that subject, we just this morning talked about on T, because it's very important that last night there was a Senate debate the Senate run debate or whatever between Fetterman and Oz. And people, let's remember that Fetterman had a stroke not that long ago, and he had to read from the teleprompter to know his questions and answers so that he didn't skip words, which he did, and it was kind of awkward. You could tell that he had a stroke, and that to a lot of people shows weakness. And their biggest debate was against abortion and abortion rights and what have you. But it's just interesting that the one candidate we do have that for example, can save Pennsylvania and not sway the Senate is under health issues and suffering from different issues. So what are Democrats going to do? Is my point.
Honestly, I really, and that's why I'm really wanted to talk about silence equals violence, because and no disrespect to Fetterman, no disrespect to Shapiro, but these aren't people that I trust. These aren't people that I feel like are going to have Black people's best intentions when they go vote. I'm going to be 100% honest, and that even goes for Herschel Walker, that goes for Warnock, that goes for Stacey Abrams. Shit, that goes for Keith Ellison in Minnesota. I do not. Oh, thank you. I talk about Sandusky all the time, and people don't even understand that, because and fuck what I was just talking about, because she just brings up a great point. And Penn State just the other day had protests, and yet they were brutalizing the college kids who are paying to go to school there, but yet they still don't want to take accountability for what they did to the kids during the Sandusky era. They still wanted to, even ESPN, Penn State, I forget Joe Paterno, not saying that Joe was really a lot to blame in this. He had some blame, because as a college coach, you're taking in kids that are coming from different types of environments, different types of situations. And I know for myself, when I was going through the recruitment process, one thing that coaches tell your parents is that we got your kids' back. We look out for your kids. And not only that, but I've seen this with gymnastics in the USA Olympics, of how they were abusing our kids. And I'm going to call them kids because they are our kids, regardless of whatever. They're our kids. I mean, I have a 27-year-old son right now, and that's still my kid. So that plays a big part in it. And that nobody wants to keep our kids safe anymore because there's too many different ideologies, there's too many different rhetorics, when it all should come down to public safety, regardless if it's from the police, regardless if it's from community violence, regardless if it's from whoever, because an injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere. And we're going to take a commercial break real quick. And we'll be right back to get into Silence Equals Violence.
That love that you feel that fits like a glove, that love is just you and me together. The reality that is in need of attention because mother is seething with poison, and the love that we need is found in the seed from mother because she screams, I need you. Go clean your room.
Yeah, go clean your room and get to know you. Find that inner child that sets you on this trial. There was things that rocketed in you. Manifested this in between every trial, error, and tangible thing. Let that ring.
Let that ring. That reality is manifested through duality in the concept of good versus evil. There is not good or bad. There is only the experience that you feel. What you felt is real, but what you know now is here.
And it's been here for years. We were just stuck in this state of constant fear where we choose to sabotage and unhear. We all are here to alchemize it.
Projection. While we talk about projection,
Yes.
I don't want to feel the effects of your neglection because the constant tries at getting me to feel your lies and the time that you spent hampering on the tried and failed declines of your past lives have nothing to do with my current timeline. I am done dealing with that life. That life is no longer me. I felt the fruit to give myself the need of my existence that now is me, the need that I need to feel to be free. Projection is your neglection. It has nothing to do with my profession. I am who I am. There is no correction. I am. I don't need your projection.
Because I don't fear life's rejections. I stand in my own reflection because it's me versus me and my own imperfections. My imperfections are perfect for me. Because who are you to tell me how to be me? When it's all said and done, I am the only one. I am the only one of me. So I am free. I have no reasoning to fear anything unjust because time is up and karma has just begun.
Woohoo!
I like this.
Yes. Finger snaps. Finger snaps. Yo.
Yo, we are back. We talk about today's subject is silence equals violence. So up on the screen, what you're seeing is about a black officer, lieutenant in Minneapolis, that was demoted over calling his counterparts that he was getting tired of all these white boys being hired, and he was demoted. And I want people to know that this is the old chief's good friend. He demoted his good friend for telling the truth that he was tired of the police department hiring all these racist white boys. So there's a video with this, and I haven't watched this in a while, but it's something that I did talk about last year when the story did come out. And this isn't the only one, because we've talked about MPD a few times, and we talked about how the racist Christmas tree, which nobody was fired, and we talk about the 62-page report that the Minnesota Department of Human Rights did, and found all of these violations on civil rights, that they were doing all of these erratic, racist, systemic things to Black and brown people in Minneapolis, and nobody said nothing. People were silent, and that's why we've gotten to where we are in 2022. It isn't just something that because of George Floyd. This is a history in the Minneapolis Police Department. It's not just Minneapolis, it's everywhere. And there's another story after we get done talking about this one from Tennessee. It's Knoxville, Tennessee, actually. So if we could just play this video real fast. And this report came from Lou Raguse, who is a great reporter for KARE 11. So really gets to the nitty gritty on stories. Don't always agree with mainstream media, but do like some reporting.
Here.
Always an ad.
Right.
No, they got to get their money.
Mm-hmm.
You got to take it from us.
A current Minneapolis police officer is suing his department for alleged racial discrimination after he was demoted, and his lawsuit makes several claims of racism by other officers within MPD. Lou Raguse is here now with details on this story tonight. Lou?
Yeah, Randy, Art Knight has been with the Minneapolis Police Department for 28 years and worked his way up to deputy chief and chief of staff. A new lawsuit claims racial discrimination, reprisal, retaliation, and a hostile work environment after a quote Knight gave the Star Tribune on the topic of diversity. It was a provocative quote in an October Star Tribune article about Minneapolis police struggles to hire and retain officers of color. Deputy Chief and Chief of Staff Art Knight said if MPD keeps using the same hiring tactics, quote, you're going to get the same old white boys. In a race discrimination lawsuit, Knight now says longtime friend and fellow African-American Chief Madera Arredondo called him and said he was getting a lot of calls and pressure and demoted Knight to lieutenant.
The majority of people in any neighborhood are decent folks who just want a safe place to raise their family.
Knight is a well-known Black officer with MPD. Here he is engaging protesters after the police shooting of Jamar Clark in 2015.
Cops out here come to work every day and they protect us.
According to the lawsuit, after Knight was demoted, derogatory messages popped up on precinct chalkboards and on social media channels. Some white officers proclaimed and bragged that were the now demoted Chief Lieutenant Knight assigned to oversee their patrol, they would refuse to follow his orders. Knight in the lawsuit to allege several other acts of racism by white officers, such as a now sergeant in charge of a department program using the N-word openly and often. Another sergeant who serves the diverse North Side posting racist memes on social media. And another white officer referring to Minneapolis's Somali population with a racist remark about Muslim Americans. The lawsuit calls out the Minneapolis Police Federation and then Union President Bob Kroll for staying silent on those issues while calling Knight's Star Tribune quote racially charged. Knight says his statement was, in fact, objectively true. The Minneapolis Police Department and City Attorney's Office declined to comment on the active lawsuit. Knight and his attorneys declined an interview, they said, because he is still an active employee. Randy?
Yeah, it's crazy to me because, hold on, before I'm going to send you another story about Minneapolis to show people that, and this is something to do with Derek Chauvin before George Floyd. So there was two instances with Derek Chauvin, one with a 14-year-old boy named John Pope, and another one with my sister, love her to death, Zoya Code, of where, and this is the crazy thing, because when I first met Zoya, on the left, you'll see Mr. Pope. And then on the right is Zoya Code. I met Zoya during the uprising. George Floyd, became very close, loved this sister to death. She was telling a story, telling her truth, not a story, my bad, telling her truth about Derek Chauvin. And I, over the last 2 years, gotten to know Zoya very closely. And I was at this press conference. Actually, there was not many Black Lives Matter people were there. But there was a lot. There was some press. There was me, Ashley, and another community member that went to go support Zoya, so that she knew she had support. But if you play this clip from Fox 9, this is very interesting because it goes into not even just of what Art Knight was talking about or what we just seen, but just this to show that this history is embedded in the police department. So, like, I want people, and this was a 14-year-old child at the time.
Dang ads, I should have known.
Right, it's all right. We know how we do it. But it's crazy because oh my God.
New legal battles tonight. Two new lawsuits allege that Chauvin used excessive force 3 years before the murder of George Floyd. Rob Olson is live in Minneapolis right now. And so, Rob, one of the cases involved a teenager at the time. What have you learned today?
Well, yeah, that teenager, he's now 19. He was 14 at the time. And Derek Chauvin did plead guilty in December to federal civil rights violation in that case. But again, there's a pair here of plaintiffs. And the attorneys who represent them believe there are probably other people out there who had the same sort of experiences with Derek Chauvin. And if so, they encourage them to come forward.
Had a long road ahead. George Floyd, he died. And there was no help, even all the warning signs.
39-year-old Zoya Code and 19-year-old John Pope say Derek Chauvin did the same things to them in 2017, most notably the knee on the neck that he did to George Floyd 3 years later.
On my neck, pressing down, and more so that I felt that I couldn't move and breathe. And I expressed that to him, and it's like he didn't care.
Their attorneys have now filed lawsuits on behalf of both of them against Chauvin, their supervisors, other officers, and the city of Minneapolis, alleging constitutional and civil rights violations, alleging too that Chauvin was left unpunished and unchecked despite these major warning signs.
And which unfortunately left Chauvin in a position of power and authority over people of color and people he could prey on. And ultimately led to the death of George Floyd.
In Zoya Code's case, the lawsuit includes stills from body-worn cameras. Code says she recalls telling Chauvin at the time that this is how you kill black people.
What happens next time you do this? Are you just going to kill a black man in the street like a dog? And that's what happened.
In John Pope's case, attorneys say Chauvin also beat him with a flashlight. Chauvin pled guilty to federal civil rights charges in December for the incident with Pope, but has not been sentenced, which is why that body-worn camera video is not yet public. His attorney.
Oh, there goes me and Ashley.
Wow, that's funny as shit.
No matter
That's
how
crazy.
sorry that
I didn't even know I was on there.
it doesn't feel the same, because somebody, it feels like somebody took something away from me.
Now, some of the officers named in these lawsuits still do work for the department, they said, but some of them have left. They're trying to track them all down to serve them the lawsuit. As far as monetary damages asked for in this civil suit, well, Attorney Bennett said that they didn't put a number on it. This will go to a jury, perhaps a settlement, but they said the number that they are looking for is going to be big.
Right. It needs to be big. And I'm going to tell people why it needs to be big, because Minneapolis has had body cams for a while. It hasn't just been recently. This has been for a while. And officers, their superiors, Chauvins, they approve this shit. You know what I'm saying? So That's why we have a problem. It's not just Chauvin. It's a whole system, because that, if you want to put that picture I sent to you of Chauvin, and this isn't George Floyd, that's Derek Chauvin on top of Zoya Code. And honestly, I didn't get into there because this video, the videos of both of these situations on the body cam, and you can see that's a body cam, and that's Zoya's situation, if I remember correctly, was 2019, but 2017. So they were both around the same time, and you can see the body cam footage. So you can't tell me that these officers should not have been corrected. And this is the one thing that bugs me, because we allow it. We allow it. There are so many officials elected. Our mayor, the 13 officials that were elected at this time, knew about these situations. The police chief, Arredondo, knew this. They all were silent. They allowed a killer, a potential killer, to be out on the streets to police communities that they know he did not like.
Mm-hmm.
And what did we get? We got George Floyd out of it. So I hope that Mr. Pope and my sister Zoya Code are paid very well, because they damn sure be paid more than the $27 million that was paid to George Floyd's family, for the simple fact of that George Floyd didn't have to happen, because Chauvin should have been off the streets already, should have been in a prison cell. Wouldn't have been my celly. It should have been somebody's celly. This last story that we're going to get into this morning, that silence equals violence, is out of Knoxville, Tennessee. And this is about, so almost all 15 black officers working for.
You got like 2 other stories, right?
No, this last one.
I bet. I'm gonna throw links in the comments. Maybe I wasn't following, but I apologize, brother.
No, you're good. You're good. So what you're seeing on the screen is Ben Crump made a post this morning that almost all 15 black officers working for Knoxville, Tennessee Police Department say they've experienced some form of workplace discrimination, including roadblocks in the promotion process. This form of discrimination is unfair and unjust. Those responsible must be disciplined.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when he says those people need to be disciplined, I hope that people understand who he's talking about, because I wish he would have went into more context. I know Twitter doesn't allow you to do that, but he could have made a thread. So what we're talking about is he's talking about their bosses is elected officials, because the people that we vote for hire the police chiefs. So then the police chief hires the superiors or promotes them, whatever. So we have to realize of what we are doing when we go to the ballot, because and this is a town of more than, I'm surprised I only got 15 officers for 180,000 people. Holy shit.
15 black officers.
Well, yeah, no, I know, but I'm just saying for a town, but they're all together, they only have 360. That's crazy.
But I think like Tennessee is more like, I think it's the eastern side is black. I mean, the eastern side and more central is white, and the western side is more black. So like Memphis, you think black. Knoxville and Nashville, you think more so white. That's my perspective on it. Right. So like these figures kind of make sense to me.
Oh,
that's
yeah,
me.
no, it does.
I've never been to Tennessee, so I can't say. You know what I mean?
Right.
So whoever like is from Tennessee or loves Tennessee, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just my perspective, but yeah. Carry on.
They took a survey, and these are some of the comments that were in the survey. If you're a black officer, you have to work 5 times harder, and officers will always second guess you. Another says that when applying for posted positions and training, if more than one black officer applied for a job that has multiple open slots, only one black officer would get selected, and the other one would be told to wait until the next posting.
Wow.
Yeah, only about a third of the department's 15 black sworn officers said they felt they have a voice within the organization, and that their supervisors are receptive to their concerns or feedback. The report shows 12 said they felt the organization discriminated against them because of their race. Black officers were also the least likely to say they felt was a clear process for de-escalating problems internally. That's because our opinion and voice don't matter. That's why there is no and honestly, you know, just going to and I will talk about this a little bit. I'll talk about this more tomorrow on Friday. But just to know that there is people, there is officers that do call this type of shit out. There is ordinances, laws, and their collective and bargaining agreements to pinpoint things like this so that there is a better system in place so that officers are all treated the same. And that's one thing that I look forward to working with our new police chief, O'Hara, who came from Newark, New Jersey, and the programs that he has helped put in his community, because, you know, if people don't understand Newark, New Jersey, kind of just like Minneapolis, Knoxville, you know, a larger, diverse community. But also you got to understand is if people don't understand of New Jersey, if you haven't never seen the movie New Jersey Drive, if you've never seen the documentaries from the 90s, people have to understand that New Jersey is kind of a wild place. Carjackings were out of the stolen vehicles was at an all-time high in the 90s, ever before we knew the Kia boys, before we even knew about Hyundais and, you know, all of that. Oh yeah, too. I did forget about that. So, and I'm gonna leave on this story. We got one more story that my producer told me I forgot about, and that is Eric Cantu out of San Antonio, Texas. This was a young man who was eating a McDonald's cheeseburger in his vehicle. The police officer thought he was somebody that he had seen the other night. Wasn't him. So instead of doing his due diligence and his job correctly, a young man was shot and is on life support right now in San Antonio. That officer has been fired. That officer has been charged, not correctly, I feel, but he has been charged. And that's where we need to work on, is to get the correct charges on these officers and to get rid of qualified immunity, because qualified immunity does protect these officers from some of these charges. So I want people to understand that what qualified immunity is out here doing. So need more than just officers to be we need them to be charged accordingly.
Trying to figure out here, because I don't like these things just as much as the next person.
What's that?
These darn
ads.
Yeah.
Did I send a story? Oh yeah, I did send it. NBC News. So yeah, I just don't understand it, man. 17 years old, man. Just mutilated. And it hurts to see our son that way. So I want people to, today, if you are a religious person, let's say a prayer. And More
This
than
man
that.
whose body camera footage is struggling to survive 3 weeks after the incident, still in critical condition.
He is continuing to fight for his life.
Oh, God.
On life support.
Yeah.
Attorney Ben Crump and Cantu's family speaking out publicly for the first time.
We just want to be there by his side every day to make sure he can breathe, make sure he's able to wake up and see tomorrow.
On October 2nd, the 17-year-old was sitting in a McDonald's parking lot in San Antonio eating a burger when Officer James Brennan arrived on scene for an unrelated case, but says he recognized the teen's maroon vehicle.
I got a vehicle over here that fled from me the other day.
He approached, opening the driver door. Now,
Who the hell just opens the door? I would have been nervous
Right,
too. Like, what the hell are you doing? But why did he shoot? I'll never understand that.
Started to drive off.
Shots fired! Shots fired!
Cantu was found less than a block away. The teen suffered multiple gunshot wounds, including to his stomach, lungs, and all. Cantu was initially charged with evading detention with a vehicle and assault on a peace officer. Those charges were dropped. Investigators looking into the incident quickly determined Brennan's use of deadly force was unwarranted.
His employment was terminated after review of the incident.
Brennan was later arrested and charged with 2 counts of aggravated assault by a public official.
James Brennan turned himself in about an hour ago.
The former San Antonio officer has since been released from prison after posting a bond of $200,000.
Wow.
We reached out to his attorney for comment on the charges, but did not receive an answer.
Of course
They
he's
want
out.
the maximum. I mean, when we talked, it looked like he was trying to murder him. I mean,
Yep.
those many shots.
The Cantu family now calling for justice. Morgan Chesky, NBC News.
Crazy.
So, not only just that, in Texas, but Mississippi, Ohio, we gotta pay attention. And if you got y'all need, fuck the twerking, fuck the going to the clubs, the concerts. When are we gonna finally stand up? And I'm talking to Gulfport, Mississippi right now. You just seen, y'all just laid that young man, Jaheim, to rest yesterday. And the fact that I gotta wake up to see traveling performative activists out drinking and celebrating, talking about Mississippi is turned. Nigga, what are you really in this for? I really want people to think. So, and people know who the hell I'm talking about. People know who I'm talking about. They got me blocked on social media, but the fool forgot one app. So, and I want people to understand that performative is at an all-time high here. Because why hasn't Family Dollar released a video? Why is Family Dollar still open? Why is the police chief not fired? Why isn't the officer not fired? That's what I want to see. Motherfuckers should be camped out at Family Dollar. Public information is a hell of a skill set, people. Use it. Use it. Go to that man's house. Go to the mayor's house. Make sure that there's justice for Jaheim. Because I just don't get it. Because I'm not traveling down to Mississippi. I don't care who get their ass beat down there. I'm not coming. And anybody that asks, I'm going to laugh at them and be like, really? Why don't y'all go to the club y'all was just at the night before and ask them to help you out? So until next time, let's meditate through the pain and celebrate the ties that bond, liberate our people, educate our youth so we can stop the bloodshed. Be the change, because win or fail, freedom or jail, heaven or hell, wish me well.
I